Today we're going to be fixing another power supply for the Samsung QN77S90DAFXZA OLED TV. It is of course experiencing the common no power faults, but what makes this repair a little bit different is that we noticed when it arrived that there was a little physical damage from the shipping. If we take a look at the bottom right corner where the plug is, this component right here is completely knocked off, as you can see. And on the upper corner here, it is bent. And if we look a little closer, we'll see that there's actually damage to some of the traces. Before we start any repairs, let's make sure that the board was indeed defective before the physical damage. So most commonly, this fuse will blow. We're in continuity mode, so when we have continuity, we get a beep. A good fuse should have continuity and should beep. This one does not. If we check this fuse, this one has continuity. It does beep, so this is a good fuse. So that confirms we don't have any power going through that main fuse, and commonly these two transistors will have a short. Now because they are transistors, they're not supposed to have a short, so let's see. I do have a beep, I have continuity, that indicates a short. I don't have a beep, but I'm getting 190 ohms on my multimeter, and that actually indicates some sort of partial short. And this one over here, no beep, no reading, no beep, no reading. We'll go ahead and replace both of them anyways. We'll start by unscrewing our transistors. We'll flip the board over. And for this next part, we're switching over to our microscope. Now our transistors are covered in silicone, so we'll go ahead and remove as much of it as we can. And we'll do a little bit more cleaning with our metal brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of solder to all the joints, make sure we get good flow. If your power supply is defective, we offer refurbished replacements or repair services on our website, all with a 1-year warranty. Links are in the description. And we're going to scooch over here, which is where our fuse is, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to clean it up. Same with the fuse. Now for the fuse, there is a little silicone on the front, so we're just gonna remove that, separate it. I just wanna make sure that the fuse is free and clear, and it is. And I'm gonna use my tweezers to hook under the leg, and at the same time, we're gonna melt the joint. And with my, oh, there we go. With my tweezers, I'm lifting the fuse away. So now the fuse is out and free on one side. There we go. So our fuse is free and clear. And now that it's been removed, it should be a lot easier for us to desolder the holes. Let's get back to our transistors. Same process. We're going to desolder. Although for this one, we're not going to be pulling the transistor out because there are 3 legs. So it's going to be a little difficult to do it the same way we did the fuse. But we should be able to desolder at least the side legs. And let's see, are these free and clear? I can move them. Yeah, they're free. And these are also free. So now we're down to only 1 leg of the transistor, so we should be able to, at this point, push it through maybe? Oh, you know what? We're gonna flip the board over. We'll notice one of them is already free and clear, but the other one is, okay, it is loose. Okay, all right. Sometimes they're not, and you have to loosen them up manually, but this means we should be able to just push it through. There we go. There we go. That's both of our transistors. Same as before. We can desolder now that the component is out of circuit. This one has extra solder that we added. We're back in continuity mode, so we get a beep when we have continuity. Do we still have a short? Nope. And no, it looks like we don't have a short anymore. And let's confirm with the transistors out of circuit. We have a short. And no short. So only one of them was actually defective. Again, we're going to be replacing both. We're going to remove the old thermally conductive layer since it's fallen apart a little bit, and we're going to put our own. We'll give the area a quick clean with isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip. There's just a little bit of oil residue left over from the original thermal pad. Instead of using a thermal pad, we're going to use thermally conductive tape. We'll cut out a hole for the screw using an X-Acto blade. And we'll pull the middle leg forward a little bit so that we can properly insert the transistor back into the board. And we're going to try and be very careful to feed the screw properly into the hole without having the transistor touch the heatsink if possible, because once it touches the heatsink, it'll be stuck. Second transistor. There we go. Now, as you can see, the legs are poking out significantly, so let's go ahead and cut off the excess before we start our soldering. If you found the video helpful or useful so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Now, my replacement fuse is a little bit bigger, but it has the same voltage and amperage ratings. So we'll go ahead and feed it in at a slight angle. And I bent the pins out so that the fuse would stay in position. Same thing, we'll cut off the excess. Okay, and that's our final product. Now let's tackle this guy over here. So this guy is loose, the leg is completely broken off, and it looks like there's some physical damage to the component itself. Now, if we look more closely, it looks like this is a CX801S, which I believe is going to be a capacitor. Go ahead and desolder this component and replace it. So we'll go through that same process, clean up the joint first. We'll add some solder to get good flow. And with my hand, I'm going to pull out the component. We'll desolder the joint. Repeat the process over here. Now this one, the leg is still in the joint, but the component is gone. So let's see if we can just desolder it and have the pin fall out. Might not be the case. We might have to use tweezers to get the pin to fall out or to grab it from the back. Yeah, looks like we might have to. So let's see, maybe I can just grab it from here. There we go. Now this component does not seem to have a polarity, so it doesn't matter what orientation I put it in. And this one's a little trickier. I'm holding onto it from the bottom since I can't bend the pins and I don't have a screw to lock it in. So let me just get good flow on one side and now use both hands to lock in the second leg. Next, let's look at our physical damage, and we can clearly see here the board is very cracked and damaged. So our crack goes through here, which is our ground pad right here. So we'll need to mend that. We have another trace right here we'll also need to fix. I don't think there's anything underneath this black bar, but we'll scratch at it and confirm that. We'll also want to fix this trace here, make sure we have good continuity on both sides. Let's keep following the crack, and it looks like it ends right over here. So something we can do is, back in continuity mode, we'll see if we have continuity between these two halves, and it looks like we do, which would then mean that we may not have to, so we may not technically have to fix this, but we will anyways. Yeah, we're getting continuity. So to fix it, what we're going to do is scratch away the coating that is insulating the copper. And we'll do the same over here. We'll do the same for this little trace over here. And let's scratch away, make sure there's no copper here. There's not. Okay. And now that we have exposed our copper, we can go ahead and add solder to the copper, just like that. Now we're able to simply add a large blob on extremely large surfaces like this, and that most likely will be okay, but we can't really do that same technique for a smaller trace like that. And part of the reason is not because it's just a smaller trace and we can't bridge, it's because there is a good chance that the actual solder will break and no longer have a good connection. So usually what ends up happening is we'll want to add a wire inside of that solder to strengthen and solidify that joint. Okay, and it would be best if I use tweezers for this. There we go. And then we can check. Yep, our wire is solid, so we're good to go. Before we power on, I did one more double check on the board and I found one more issue that's going to be over here on this side of the board, more specifically with these 3 capacitors. So this one won't wiggle much, not wiggle much, and then this one wiggles quite a bit. If we flip the board over and focus on that joint, we'll see that that component leg is loose. So the capacitor is probably okay, we just need to resolder that joint. Okay, and that completes our double check, so let's go ahead and power it on and see what we get. I heard it click. Let's do a DC check on the filter capacitors. And we're getting 400 volts. Let's check our VDRV. And we're getting a steady 32 volts. Let's check our 13 volt line. We're getting a steady 13 volts. If you have a similar TV with a no power fault, we do have these power supplies available for sale with core trade-ins, as well as a mail-in repair service. Both of those come with a default 1-year warranty and are available on our website, which I will link in the description down below.